Hello. This week, after the Pesach festival, we resume our studies, and the parsha for this week is Shemini, or Shemini. In the previous parsha, we spoke about the 7 days during which Moshe and Aaron inaugurated the Mishkan. In this parsha, we learn about the following day, which is what Shemini means, the 8th day, number 8, Shemini. 8 is the number of transcendence. 6, physical world. 7 is the elevation of Shabbat towards spirituality. And number 8 is the combined power of the physical world and the spiritual together, elevating both. It is above 7, obviously, and associated with the spiritual world. The Shekhinah, the part of God, the spiritual aspect of God which was closest to us, human being, came down on the 8th day into the Mishkan. And the Kohen Gadol wears 8 garments. There are 8 ingredients to anointing oil. There are 8 rods to carry the whole Mishkan, all the parts of it. Even animals are sacrificed not any earlier than on the 8th day. The Levites were playing 8 musical instruments in the temple. There are obviously 8 days of Hanukkah we celebrate. And last but not least, the baby can have, the male baby, the boy, can have a Brit Milah on the 8th day. Why? Because his neshama gets activated. So as you can see, number 8 is a very, very special number in our Jewish life. So the 8th day in the Mishkan, Aaron and his sons, the Kahanim, begin their jobs as priests serving in the Mishkan. And first they prepare the sacrifices, and then all Jews come to the entrance of the Mishkan to watch as they bring the sacrifice up on the altar, on the Mizbeach. And then Moses and Aaron bless the people and everyone. And all of them see a fire come down from heaven and consume the sacrifice. The people are extremely excited, overwhelmed and overjoyed, and they begin sing praises to God. It's a huge celebration for all Jewish people. But then in the middle of all of this celebration and excitement, something tragic happens. 2 of Aaron's sons, Nadav and Avihu, light a fire and bring it to the sacrifice, to the Mizbeach, to the sacrificial table, that they are not supposed to bring it. They were not asked to do that. And they, as a consequence, they die immediately. Can you imagine the sorrow and the tragedy which Aaron and his 2 other younger sons have experienced at that moment? It's very hard to imagine. But Aaron says nothing. He remains quiet and accepts God's judgment. Moshe tells Aaron and his remaining sons, Eleazar and Itamar, to continue conducting the service in the Mishkan. And they do. While the rest of the people of Israel mourn the death of Nadav and Avihu, and the cousins remove the bodies from the Mishkan. Then in this parsha we learn about a law for Kahanim, that God tells Aaron Whenever they will be serving in the Mishkan, Aaron and his sons, the Kohanim, are not allowed to drink wine and become drunk. And this is one of the most simplistic explanations why Nadav and Avihu were killed, because apparently they have been intoxicated with wine a little bit. Well, we will come to that in a few minutes. Then the Parsha tells us about the kosher laws. God tells Moshe to tell Israelites about animals that may be eaten and those that may not be eaten. Kosher animals, those that are permissible, must have 2 signs. They must chew cud and must have split hooves. Kosher fish must have scales and fins. And they are given a whole list of non-kosher birds and a list of types of locusts which are kosher, which we don't know what they are. So we don't eat any insects at all. And the Torah tells us that all other insects are not kosher. We also learn about the idea of purity, which is like a spiritual type of cleanliness. If something becomes impure by touching something impure, for example, the dead body of a non-kosher animal, then it must be immersed in a special body of water called mikvah. And the mikvah has a special power to restore purity to things, like vessels and dishes, etc. And people, of course, that have become impure. As a matter of fact, all kosher Jews, when they buy new utensils, in order to maintain the level of kashrut of the kitchen, all new utensils, pots and pans and whatever, they take to mikvah to dip in the water in order to purify them. And basically all of this is what the content of this parsha is. Obviously, a central event in this parsha is the death of Aaron's 2 elder sons, Nadav and Avihu, who offered a strange fire before God, which he had not commanded, and the result being that the fire went out of God from above and consumed them both, and they died before God. It actually entered their body through their nostrils. So, what they have done is considered a great sin, or maybe not. There are a lot of Torah sages' opinions that imply that Nadav and Avihu act was not a sin at all, as a matter of fact. The Torah records Moshe's words to Aaron immediately following the tragedy. This is what God spoke, saying, I shall be sanctified by those who are close to me. And Moshe says to Aaron that he was thinking that it's one of them who will be sacrificed. And apparently it looks like it's Aaron's sons. Rashi, citing the Talmud and Midrash, explains his meaning, what Moshe is saying to Aaron. When God said, I shall be sanctified by those close to me, I thought it referred to me or you. This is what I was saying a few seconds ago. Now you see that they are greater than both of us. So Moshe is saying to Aaron, his sons are, from spiritual point of view, are greater than both of them. Well, Rabbi Chaim ibn Attar writes in his commentary or Chaim on this verse, and he says that theirs was meaning their death, but was by divine kiss, like that experienced by perfectly righteous people. Eventually Aaron will die by divine kiss, so will Moshe. It is only the righteous die when the divine kiss approaches them. While they died by their approaching, they approached it, the divine kiss. Although they sensed that their own demise is coming, this did not prevent them from drawing near to God. And in their excitement, they got attached in delight, in fellowship, in love with God. And it was inevitable that the kiss of God will touch them, and where at this point their souls departed them, ceased from them. Our Hasidic sages explain that life, the retention of spiritual soul within the physical body, entails a very serious and strong balance between two powerful forces in the soul. One is ratzo, striving, running away, and the other one is shov, return, settling, holding together. Ratzo is the soul striving for transcendence, trying to get up to God, where it belongs. It's the yearning to tear free of the entanglements of the material life, of the physicality, and achieve a self-nullifying reunion with God, with Creator, with the Source, with the universe. At the same time, however, every human soul also possesses shov, a will to actualize a commitment to life in this physical world, in the physical life, and make an imprint upon the physical world by his or her actions during their life, and maybe by participation in bringing up their children, their grandchildren, so their souls, their physical aspects of their souls, their ideas, their understanding of what life is all about is passed on to future generations. This is what it's all about. To understand this, let's look at the soul of a man as a lamp of God. The lamp's flames, if you sit down and look at flames on a candle or a lamp, doesn't matter, right? The flame surges upwards all the time, as if it's trying to tear off, to break free from the weak and lose itself in the great expanse of energy striving for heavens. But even as it strains upward, heavenward, the flame is also pulling back, tightening its grip on the wick of the lamp, drinking thirstily the oil of the lamp, and sustains, which actually that oil sustains it, and continues, and because of that, the flame continues to exist as an individual flame. And it is this tension, this conflict between the energies that facilitate for dissolution first to go up into the air and back again, that produces the light. And this is exactly the same with our souls. With the soul of a man, be striving to escape physical life, and is checked by the will to be and to achieve, which is in turn checked by striving for spirituality, for transcendence, for higher thoughts, for elevation. And when a person's involvement with the world threatened to be overwhelmed, he makes so the world is trying to hold him back and trying to make him a prisoner of physicality. The soul's ratzo resist this awakening, his inherent desire to connect with the source, with the God, within the source in God. And when a person's spirituality threatens to carry him off into the sublime, eternal gardens of heavens, the soul's shov, the physical aspect, kicks in, arousing a desire for physical life and worldly achievement. And together, this conflict and collision of these two drives produces the flame of our life. It illuminates our surroundings and with godly light, a life that escapes the pull of earth, the physical life, even as it interacts with it and develops in harmony with the soul's spiritual vision. And obviously the balance between those two energies one pulling up, the other pulling down, holding to physicality, is what makes a person, in an individual. Some people have got stronger desire for spirituality, and they are more spiritual. They are trying to be maybe kosher, and they're trying to be more righteous, etc. And others say, all right, I don't care about that. So it means that his physical aspect is much stronger. That's all. So divine fire that consumes that consumes the souls of Nadav and Avihu is the very fire that is intrinsic to every soul, every human being. The soul's burning desire to tear free of the physical trappings of, that distance it from its source. Nadav and Avihu came close to God to such a degree by indulging and fueling their soul's ratzon, their spiritual aspect, to the point that it overpowered the shov, the physical part. And they broke free from the cycle of life. So their souls literally severed their connection with their bodies and were utterly consumed in ecstatic reunion with the Creator. This, however, was still a strange fire. A fire that God did not command. Men were created not to consume his material being in a fire of spiritual ecstasy. God wants us to anchor our favor to reality. He wants us to settle this yearning for spirituality with our physical self, to absorb it, and to make it part of our everyday life, our everyday experience. This is why, following the death of Nadav and Avihu, God specifically commanded that their example should not be repeated. And whenever they will be serving in the Mishkan, meaning the Kahanim, Aaron and his sons are not allowed to drink any wine and become drunk, as well as only Kohen Gadol can enter the Holy of Holies, and only once a year on Yom Kippur, or otherwise he will die. And this basically is a clear manifestation of how much God cares about us, his children, trying to make sure that we understand that our relationship with him is very complex, very strong, and if we make severe mistakes, it will have very severe consequences. Shabbat Shalom. I hope we learned something today. See you next time.
Shine.